We're joined now by Miranda Devine. I think it's probably fair to say. Oh, we got Carol Markowitz, too. I was going to give you the title of our favorite person at the New York Post, but we really like Carol Markowitz, too, so I don't want to offend anybody out there. Miranda, you just had a sit-down with President Trump in the Oval Office. It is ricocheting about the internet now, and there are many different things I know that he told you. What stood out to you the most about the interview that you had with President Trump from a news perspective?
No, thanks so much. And Carol is great. She's a mate of mine, so I'm glad you like us both. Look, Donald Trump was just incredibly generous with his time and also his candor. He is just so frank. You know, sometimes, like when we talked about Camp David, he said, I can't really talk about it. Ben did say that they'd been talking about, obviously Iran and Russia. He gave, a lot of insight into his conversations with world leaders, his problems with Elon. He's sort of open to reconciliation, but not right now. He's too busy. And also some of his childhood experiences. His father bundled him off to military school at 13 because he was so rambunctious. And his father wasn't terribly thrilled when they got back some aptitude test scores for Donald.
We might have just lost her there for a minute. It sounded like she popped out. I hope that doesn't mean that we've popped out, so I'm going to keep talking until the team tells me whether or not we've popped out. But, Buck, this is Miranda Devine. The podcast called AirPod 1, and it is underway right now. And I do think it speaks to Pod Force 1, is the name of her podcast. She's back with us right now. Miranda, you popped out right there. You were talking about Donald Trump, talking about his dad shipping him off to military school, and that's where we lost you. What did he talk about there?
So, yeah, his dad just shipped him off to military school at age 13 because he was so rambunctious. He wanted to get him straightened out a bit. And also his parents sent him off to aptitude testing when he was a young boy, and his father was not altogether thrilled to find out that Donald Trump's genius is musical. He is a musical genius, apparently. He can pick a note and remember it, an hour later. So he sort of laughed wryly and said, well, that wasn't really a talent my father particularly wanted me to have. But his mother got him to, after that, learn a musical instrument. And you will never guess what it was.
Well,
we guessed.
We played the audio already.
Oh, yeah.
And the memes are rolling in because I have been attacking men who play
Clay has
flute.
been attacking male flute players. He leaves the ladies out of this, but male flute players, he decides, Miranda, there's some just Clay's asking questions. Asking too many questions for some of our flute-playing audience.
If you have a choice to play any instrument in the world and you pick the flute, you have chosen very poorly, and I think that you cannot be trusted for anything serious. Now, Trump said he might have had a great flute-playing future, but instead he gave that up and became a multi-billionaire developer. I give him credit for abandoning the flute.
And President, well, he said he didn't like it. So his poor mother had sent all these instructors to the house to get him taught to play the flute, but he did not want to play the flute, so that didn't last for very long. It's just amusing. Of all the instruments, I can't think of one that's less appropriate for Donald Trump.
By the way, he and Lizzo could have been out there playing the, was it the James Madison
Donald
flute
Trump could have single-handedly rehabilitated the whole flute image among the orchestral instrument and woodwind community. So there's a little bit of a loss here for us, Miranda, because I think that Trump could have, he could have made flutes great again, and instead he decided to become president and try to save the free world. How is it, this is one of these things where Trump talks, I think, to enough people, and we hear how he feels on a lot of these policy things enough that we're pretty up to date, pretty in tune, if you will, with what his thinking is on a lot of things. But in terms of his poise, the sense that this time around he learned a lot the first time. I mean, just take us into his mindset a little bit from sitting down with him, and what you felt like you were gathering from this guy who still has the weight of the world on his shoulders, but always seems calm, cool, and collected, except when he's a little angry. But, for the most part.
Yeah, he is. And it's that confidence and sort of New York swagger that he's just had. He's really, he as far as back as he can remember, he says, it's just he does, I said, you sort of act against the grain quite often. And he says, well, I've got the hat that says Trump was always right. But he says, I don't feel that I'm a rebel. I just have an innate sense of what's the right thing to do, and I do it. And I don't really care what other people say. And he said, for instance, he pointed to the LA riots. And last time he sort of regretted in 2020 that he wasn't as forceful. But he said at the time, well, I just thought really I would leave it to the governors to make those decisions. But obviously the blue states, the blue governors did not do that, whether it was because they thought that it would be a great way of beating Donald Trump at the polls later that year, which I guess worked. But this time round, he said, this is a much more consequential presidency. He feels it because, in part, he said, because he's got.
Did we lose her again?
I think we might have
lost her again.
No, I'm back.
Oh,
Sorry,
she's back.
I'm back. Yes, I'm very sorry about that, my stupid phone. He just feels like he's got a better team, more like he said that I had some stars last time, but I also had some losers, and he puts in that category.
He did, and it's important that he recognized that, I think, Miranda. And one of the challenges early on was Trump was this political phenomenon, talking about term one, first administration, he's this political phenomenon. But a lot of us who voted for Trump in 2016, who were excited about it, some of the people that were in charge, whether it was the Mooch or some of the others that got into that administration, we all knew right away, oh, well, this is not a good idea. And Trump realized that. And this time around, I look at the team that he's picked, and I think it's not just that we think it's good. The results, the speed, the efficiency with which they're moving on the agenda is at this stage, at least, they still have a lot to do, but that is the result of somebody, or those are the actions of somebody who I think clearly learned a lot on the job the first time around and came ready to play day one this time.
Yes, and he said that. He, in fact, said, having that 4 years in between, he could not have been more negative about Joe Biden and how he destroyed the country. But he said people saw how bad it was. And, he'd fixed the border, but he got no credit for it. But this time, he's absolutely determined to undo the damage. And he's confident that he will be able to do it. He's very bullish on the economy and his big, beautiful bill. He says it's only phase one. He's got other things to do. And he reckons that the economic boost that it will give us will they'll be able to start paying down the debt. And that was sort of riposte to Elon. And he's just very bullish and confident. The only thing I did pick up was, he's disappointed about Iran. He said he really thought they were going to get the deal done, but just the last few days he said they've changed. And I asked, what do you mean they've changed? And he wouldn't really be drawn on that, but he just said he felt that they wanted to do a deal before. Now he's not so sure. But either way, he said they're not getting a nuclear bomb. They are not. That's not happening. And, it can either happen the nice way, or he really doesn't want people to die, but they're not getting the nuclear bomb.
Where does this go in your mind, the Elon-Trump relationship? A lot of drama. Elon apologized to Trump publicly last night. It seems, and I bet you felt kind of the same way, that Trump has been somewhat restrained in his response to Elon. And there's reports out there that he basically considers Elon to be 50% genius, 50% boy, kid. And I do think there's some truth to that as well. How would you assess where this goes from here?
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on. I mean, he does, I think I got the impression when they were still in good company together that Trump was fascinated by him because of his success and I guess his brilliance. And so he was sort of watching him and looking at him and engaged in conversation with him, but listening very intently, almost like you look at an insect under the glass, not in a mean way, in a nice way. I mean, he's quite paternal with him. I felt Elon Musk treated Donald Trump as a father figure, which is really why it's so sad that it's all blown up. Look, I asked Donald Trump a few times about Elon, and he said, look, I don't bear any ill will towards him, but I am just too busy fixing the world. I'm not thinking about him. And, I believe, Elon may have tried to reach out a couple of times or, I don't know, a bit. Not that Donald Trump told me that, but I heard that somewhere else. And I think that he's just letting him cool off. And I don't know that Donald Trump will ever be able to have that same very close relationship, because Elon, even though he's apologized, he kind of broke something.
Yeah, there are things you can't say. I think we all just know this from our own lives, whether it's to your spouse or to a colleague or a close friend. There are lines, and he definitely crossed some lines that I don't think will be able to be undone. But I also think that they'll collaborate as needed in the future, but from a more, shall we say, professional distance and less of almost like adopted son status, which is what it felt like Elon was getting there for a while.
Yes, and I mean, Elon's own father was so disastrous for him. I think that's a need that he has. And, it was a real bromance. I mean, he was sleeping in the Lincoln bedroom. He really admired Donald Trump enormously. And it was almost a childlike, from my observation, and certainly I think that's the way Donald Trump felt. But you just can't go back, and maybe it's a lesson that Elon will have. But look, Donald Trump is showing that he's not going to be nasty to Elon, and he really could have. Normally he strikes back quite unkindly, but he also is quite a sensitive man. I think he has insight into other people's feelings, and I think he knew that Elon was sort of in a bit of a manic phase and would regret what he'd said, which obviously he has because he's tweeted. Poor thing. I mean, you wouldn't want to be Elon.
Well, people can go listen to the full interview of Podforce One, correct?
Podforce One, yes.
Podforce One with Miranda Devine. Go check it out wherever you get your podcast. Miranda, always great work. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
67,000 lives were saved last year by the efforts of the preborn staff and preborn clinics across the country. They do, in just 1 year, so much incredible work, so many lives saved of tiny babies, and they're only able to do it because of your donations, because of the support of the pro-life community and doing things to take action. One way that Preborn gets this whole process going of saving the lives of babies and supporting moms is offering a free ultrasound to any pregnant mother or mother-to-be who comes into their clinic. And once that ultrasound happens and Preborn lets that mother meet her unborn child, see that heartbeat, see the movements of the child within her, it is so much easier to guide them toward life for that baby. They accomplish this goal with just $28 per ultrasound. $28 an ultrasound. So please consider a $28 donation today. Those of you who can, consider 10 ultrasounds. That would be $280. And for a couple of you out there, and a few of you have already stepped up to do this, and it is so incredibly generous of you. There's a new ultrasound machine that could be purchased for $15,000. Now, I know for a lot of you that's crazy money, but for a couple of you listening, we have millions of listeners, you could donate a full ultrasound machine to Preborn, and this would save thousands and thousands of lives of tiny babies over the life cycle of that device. Please consider it, whether it's $28 or $8,000 or $15,000, whatever you can spare to this incredible mission, please consider a donation today. To donate securely, dial pound 250, say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, say baby, or visit preborn.com/buck, preborn.com/BUCK, sponsored by Preborn.